Okay, here we go. Jai Shriman Narayan, Jai Jagannath. Please,
Jai Shriman Narayan.
Please introduce the meeting with your questions.
Thank you, Mataji. My obeisances to you. Thank you so much for inviting me here. My question, Mataji, is related to a very fundamental topic, and that is one of how do we live a life of Atman realization? Because it's so important that we as Hindus live as Hindus. And how do we do that? I mean, we see other religions who claim that they go once a week to church, and if they believe in something, they are saved. And we have other religions who pray several times a day. So what I'd like to sort of ask you to share your thoughts on, Mataji, is for us, realizing that we are Atman is a fundamental foundation of Sanatana Dharma, of Hinduism. And once this realization happens, or as this realization happens, we have to live this realization. So for us, what does that mean in practical context in every day? How do we bring this into our everyday lives so that we live as dharmis, as we live as true Hindus? And this is something that I would like your thoughts on, particularly as the Kali Yuga rolls on in all its glory. So I think having this guidance is fundamentally important, Mataji. So thank you.
Excellent question. So I believe that the key point of the issue is the meaning of the idea of realization.
Correct. Absolutely.
So it's important to understand that once we realize something, automatically we will put it in practice. We will act. We will work according to that realization. Like, for example, you wake up, you realize it's daylight. You don't have to make a special effort to understand what it means in practice, because you know that in the daytime you are going to do a few specific things that you don't do in the night. Or you realize that you are rich because you go and see your bank account and you find a lot of money. You don't need to make a separate effort to actually understand that you are now rich and what you can do with that money. It's a natural, automatic, it's implicit. Now, the problem is that people have been trained to make a distinction between theory and practice. And very correctly, you brought the example of some religions, ideologies, that give a lot of emphasis on a particular type of practices. We are talking about Abrahamic religions. Now, the main point of the Abrahamic religion, philosophy, theology, ideology in general, is that the human being is a body and has a soul. But because they don't know exactly what the soul is, the idea that you have a soul remains a theory. You cannot put it into practice. The only way you can put into practice according to those ideologies is that you demonstrate your faith, you demonstrate your obedience, you demonstrate your allegiance and your dedication to the cause. But it's all based on faith. There is no realization. You understand the difference?
Absolutely, and this makes complete sense.
So when someone is telling you, do you realize you have a soul? How can you realize you have a soul? You never saw it, you cannot perceive it, and it just makes no sense. What is a soul? It's a breath of God. Yeah, okay. What I am supposed to realize. Now, Hinduism, the original Hinduism, Vedic knowledge, gives us a completely different perspective. It shows us that we are the soul. We are the transcendent, eternal consciousness. And that you can realize. Because you can realize that you're not the body. You can realize that you're not the mind. You can realize that you are always existing, and you have always been conscious. All through the different transformations of your body and mind, it's still you. What is the meaning it's still you? Because you are still conscious of being you. You understand the point?
Indeed, I do. So here we have, the soul exists within you, which is which is the Abrahamic perception versus what we believe in, which is in essence our primary essence of being is consciousness, is the Atman.
Yeah.
It's the complete reciprocal of that viewpoint, basically.
Exactly. So it's exact opposite, and that also applies to the concept of God. Because the Vedic knowledge is giving you the opportunity to realize that you, as Atman, are also a part of God. So you can realize God, you can realize transcendence, because you are transcendence. You are part of God. The Abrahamic religions can only pray and, say they believe. But why they believe? What kind of experience do they have about the spirit? They only have the experience about the priests. They don't have experience of God because they don't know what God is. They think God is a dude in the sky on some cloud, who gets, watches everyone and, punishes those who disobey and rewards those who obey, but, not yet.
So what you're saying here, Mataji, is that the fundamental definition of our relationship with God is the key, because here we believe that we are part and parcel of the Supreme Consciousness.
Yeah,
so
we can realize that.
So with that in mind, Mataji, obviously, when you understood this, how did it affect your day-to-day actions, and how should it affect our day-to-day actions? Because the average person does understand it, but for some of us at the neophyte stage, we walk out of the door in our real lives and we have all the usual sorts of influences thrown at us.
The real life,
we
right?
live that life every day.
Yeah, well, that's not exactly the real life. Now, Bhagavad Gita says, answers this question, Arjuna is asking Krishna, how do you recognize a Sthita Pragya? What does it do? How does it, speak, or what does it do during life? How he gets up, how he sits down, what does it do? How can you tell? And Krishna answers that the Sthita Pragya, someone who has the proper, stable, permanent, consistent realization, can do all the normal, ordinary activities, closing and opening the eyes, accepting, rejecting, walking, eating, sleeping, whatever. But he is constantly conscious that all these activities are performed by the body and the mind. They're not performed by him directly, by the Atman. So, externally, you cannot distinguish how one realized soul walks and how an ordinary person walks. But you can distinguish a realized person, someone who has attained the Brahma Bhuta, the transcendental level, by the way he treats the other beings. Because if you have realized you're not the body and the mind, you also have realized that everyone else is Atman. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini. Suni Chaivasva Pakicha Pandita Samadarshina. Not only the Sthita Pragya knows that he is the Atman, and the activities are performed by the body and the mind, but he also sees everyone else as Atman. Atman, Jivatman walking around in material bodies. But he doesn't identify people with their material bodies. He can see the Atman. So this in practice means that we naturally apply the principles of Dharma and Vidya. So we become, naturally situated on the Brahma Bhuta level, which is the characteristics of the Brahmana. A Brahmana means Brahmajana, someone who is a person of the Brahman, who has realized Brahman, who acts as Brahman. Is kind and benevolent, but he is wise. He is not stupid. He can tell the difference between the body and the Atman. So it doesn't foolishly think that everybody is the same. So, he sees everyone as the same, but he doesn't expect everyone to the body and the mind of everyone to behave in the same way. In other words, the Brahmana, the one who has realized the transcendence, has equal benevolence towards a Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and an uncivilized person who eats dogs, But it doesn't go to milk the dog or to milk the Brahmana or ask the cow for spiritual instructions. Because it's not stupid. Because the body and the mind of the different embodied souls have different functions, different qualities, different guna and karma. Do you understand? Is that clear?
Yes, it is clear. So, with that in mind, Mataji, taking this again to a to an ordinary everyday scenario, what does the Atman actually do? So let's say someone walks out, drives the car, does this, does that, engages in the world, does their job, has a family, you know.
No, the Atman just makes the choices. It's the body and the mind that does everything else. It's the body and the mind who drive the car. It's the body and mind that interacts, performs the duties as per Varna, Ashram, Guna and Karma. It's not the Atman. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasaha. Ahankara vimudhatma kartaham iti manyate. The Atman is not acting. The only action that the Atman is performing is to make a choice. The Atman can choose, the Guna can choose if, taking shelter in the Yoga Maya or in, which Guna he wants to take shelter in. And then, by engaging the Gunas in the Gunas, then the material body and the material mind perform the actions. It's the Prakriti, Guna Karmani. Prakrite Kriyamanani, Guna Karmani Sarvasaha. So it's not the Atman that goes around and drives a car and goes to the job and, eats the food. The Atman is beyond that. The Atman is the existence, is the consciousness. Sat Chit Ananda.
I understand. So Mataji, with that in mind, once we come to that realization,
yeah,
is this the basis of action in detachment?
Exactly. Exactly.
Can you explain a little bit about that? My understanding, and again, this is just my basic understanding, is that once we know that we are part and parcel of the Supreme Consciousness, our action should be aligned to that.
No, it's the other way around, Vishwajit. In order to realize that we are Atman and Brahman, we must become detached from Ahankara and Mamatva first. Because as long as we stay attached, as long as we cling to the Ahankara and Mamatva, we cannot realize that we are Atman Brahman. Because by definition, we identify as material personalities, as material body, material mind. So how can we identify as Brahman if we are identifying with a limited material identification? We need to let it go. So detachment comes first. Jnana and Vairagya are the two, rails that can take us to the Brahman realization, to the spiritual realization.
So what you're saying is, detachment precedes.
Yeah.
Detachment is actually the precedent for Atman realization.
It's a prerequisite. Prerequisite.
And Mataji, in my basic understanding, I had thought that once you understand that, action in detachment is very natural. But you're saying, actually, detachment precedes that. I'd love to hear more on this.
Okay, let's make a very simple example. You want to swim? You have to let go of the shore. It's not that after you swim, you can let go of the shore. You cannot swim as long as you are still on the shore. You have to let go of the shore first, and then you can swim. You understand?
I do. So in essence, you have to let go of action without any personal gain or loss.
No. You have to let go of ahankara and mamato, means material identifications and material attachment. You don't let go of the action. That's what Krishna says to Arjuna. You should continue to perform your duty. Don't stop doing your duty. Don't stop acting. Don't stop working. But work in the consciousness that you are Atman Brahman. Work in the consciousness that you are not the doer, the ahankara. And stop thinking that whatever relates to the material identification is yours. Mama, aham means I, and mama means mine, which is both possession and belonging. My family. It means both that you have a family in the sense that the family members are yours and you belong to the family, right?
Yes.
We need to let go of this because we as Atman, we don't belong to the family and we do not have a family. Our family is God, the entire community, the universal community of all beings. There is a famous verse poem, couple of verses, that says that my mother is Parvati, my father is Shiva, and my family are all the devotees of Shiva. Right? They're talking to God. Tvameva matacha pitas tvameva. Tvameva bandhus cha sakha tvameva. Right? We cannot be limited in our identification, I and mine. Because that limitation pertains to the body and mind, not to the Atman. We have to be when we realize we are not the body or the mind, automatically you don't think my family. Because you don't have anything. That is something that pertains to the material body. And it's a material relationship. Because the material body has material relationships, which are temporary, because when you die, what family, which family, how many families have you had in all your lifetimes? Which one is your family? We don't know. No, none of them.
Yes, very good point.
So, the dynamics of reincarnation is actually a very effective way to teach us that we are not the body. Because once you have, left the body and taken a new body a sufficient number of times, you start to realize, oh, I'm not the body because, I had a different body. So I'm not this body. I was not that body. I'm not that body anymore. And that means I'm not this body either. So it's automatic. Of course, you're not the body, but you have a body. Okay? So the relationships of the body your body has to take care of them. Guna guneshu vartante. The gunas that compose the body, material body, have to engage in the gunas that create the relationships of the body. That is why, although you are conscious, you are aware, you have realized you're not the body, and that is not your family, but it's a family of this body that you're using. So you have to, support your body engaging in the duties that are connected to that body. That is the difference between Sanatana Dharma and Swadharma. Swadharma means individually. Swa, one's, specific. But what is a specific? The duality of being specific applies to material elements, because the Atman is beyond the duality. And the Atman is Sanatana. So the difference between Sanatana Dharma and Swadharma is that Sanatana Dharma is the Dharma of the Atman. Swadharma is the Dharma of the body.
That's amazing. I hadn't thought about this in that sort of clear way. So Mataji, how do you link the two? Because Swadharma, everyone's, I often hear people saying, oh, this is my Swadharma, this is my Swadharma.
Yeah, it's the dharma of your body and mind, because you have that particular body and mind with guna and karma, and Gita. Oh, Krishna in Bhagavad Gita is explaining all these things so clearly. The problem is that when we read the Bhagavad Gita, we are not really reading it. We are just looking at the page and, letting it go like a backdrop, background, in the background. It's like like the TV chattering while we are doing other stuff. We are not really paying attention. We are not really paying attention. We are not making the connections. Understanding means that you actually analyze what is said, what is written, and you make the connections, and you put it in practice. Now, this is a problem that people think that practice means, going to the temple, to the church, to the mosque, and doing the prayers, and doing, the puja with the little agarbati and the dipa, dupa, blah, blah, That's, that's not the point. All these things are material. They're not about consciousness. And this is how this is why the Varnashrama Dharma system is so perfect, because we start with the brahmacharya. At the age of 5, the child is entrusted to the family of the guru. Okay, the Gurukula is not a day school. It's not even a residential school. It's a true adoption into the family of the Guru. The child will get out of the Gurukul only at the end of the entire course of studies, of training. The child is not going home at the end of the lessons every day, or in the weekends, or even for vacations. The child has to stay in the Gurukul because that is his life. So from 5 to, 15, 20, 25 years of age, the child is trained very carefully into Dharma, which is both Sanatana Dharma and Swadharma, because the Guru can recognize, is observing each student very carefully, So he can recognize, he can evaluate the guna and karma of each student. And according to the guna and karma of each student, he is training each student for one of the four varnas. Not based on the birth of the family, but based on the guna and karma. So Kesha say, Chaturvarnya Maya Shastam, guna karma vibhagasa, not jati vibhagasa. Not kula or whatever vibhagasa. No, guna and karma, individually. So the guru is supposed to be someone who can see, clearly the guna and karma of each disciple, each student. So from 5 to whatever age will be when the guru sees that the student has become properly qualified to start his own life. The student stays in the Gurukula and learns about Dharma. Then he goes back home at the end of the training to marry and start his professional life. If that is happening in the same professional line of his father, so much better. Otherwise, he starts his own business, his own professional line. And this is found so easily, so clearly in all the Shastra. And when after the marriage and after settling in Artha, in Kama, Artha and Kama, when the first child is born and the grandparents are about 50, right? So Pancha Sordvam Vanam Vrajet. At the age of 50, one should go to the forest. Because the child doesn't need you anymore. He has his own life. Vanaprasa, it doesn't mean that you cannot see your child or your grandchild anymore. For up to the year of 5 of the grandchild, the grandparents can, hang around. They start traveling to pilgrimage places. They retire from the family and professional and social, especially social life. And they prepare for the fourth and last stage of ashram, which is the sannyas. Today, when that's weird people, the Hindus have come to think that when you become 50, that's the time to do social life. Because, you're free, you don't have anything else to do.
Exactly. Mataji, could I ask you to sort of, a lot of us have heard Svadharma, and a lot of us, and you've explained that beautifully, and a lot of us have now learned that Sanatana Dharma is the Dharma of the Atman.
Yeah.
There's a distinction.
Of course there is a distinction.
But Mataji, is there also a connection, or can there be a connection?
Of course there is a connection. We can say Achinta Bheda Bheda. The Sanatana Dharma is using the Svadharma as an instrument. Sanatana Dharma, the Atman, is the purpose. And the Svadharma is the instrument through which you perform your duty as per Varna and Ashram, but with the transcendental consciousness, as Bhagavad Gita so clearly and beautifully explains. From the very beginning. In the beginning, you remember Arjuna was saying, I don't want to fight this bad war because, I'm a good guy. I don't want to be attached. I want to stay on the transcendental level. What does Krishna tell him? Oh, yes, you are transcendental. You take sannyas, just sit back and relax, chant your japa. I'll do everything. No, you have to do your duty. Arjuna says very clearly, it's better to become to die or become a beggar. Sannyasi. There is no shame in being a beggar in the Vedic society, in Vedic system, Vedic culture. The beggars are the best people in the Vedic culture. They are sannyasis, brahmanas, sadhus, rishis, they are beggars. So Arjuna said, better I become a beggar. I become a sannyasi, renounce, I become transcendental, yay. No, Krishna said, what? No, you have to do your duty. Why this weakness of our heart? Hridaya Durbalyam. Where is this weakness of heart coming from? Your duty, your Sanatana Dharma is to support Dharma. What do you think? When Krishna says paritranaya sadhanam vinashaya duskritam dharma samstaparartaya, does he refer to Swadharma or to Sanatana Dharma? Why the avatar? Why Vishnu comes as avatar in this world? To play a role, to do some Swadharma according to some Varna or Ashram? No. So, he comes for Sanatana Dharma, and Sanatana Dharma means paritranaya sadhanam, vinashaya duskritam, dharma samstapanartaya. That's Sanatana Dharma. But how we do that? Through our Swadharma, depending on our guna and karma, about our position in society, our abilities, our potential. If we are a kshatriya, we go around a kshatriya protecting the people as kshatriyas do. If we are a brahmana, we protect people as brahmanas do. If we are a vaishya, we protect people as vaishyas do. You understand the difference?
Yes, absolutely. But you talk about protecting people, Mataji.
Yeah.
How do you relate that material duty to the transcendental duty then?
Again, the Sanatana Dharma, the transcendental duty, is protecting the good people and destroying the evildoers. That's Sanatana Dharma, because Krishna himself is coming to do that. Right? Krishna is Sanatana, is transcendental by definition. So whatever Krishna does in that regard is transcendental, is Sanatana. Yuge. Okay? Now, a Brahmana protects the good people and destroys the evildoers by teaching. Not by going around and with a big sword or, the guns and whatever. Because teaching is the Swadharma of the Brahmana, according to Guna and Karma, in which that particular Atman, Jivatman, can engage in the Sanatana Dharma. Is that clearer?
It is very, very clear now, and that makes that is a much more. I've got a much more solid understanding. So, Mataji, I've got a question. The average person in this world, this isn't about me or anyone else. The average person in this world gets up in the morning, drives the car, works for a company,
sure,
or a corporation, 9 to 5, comes home, does it, rinse, repeat, same thing again, day after day.
That would be a Shudra.
Yes, but let's say, Mataji,
Yeah.
This is a common.
Yeah, Kalu Shudra Sambhava. Everyone is a Shudra in Kali Yuga. Yeah.
No, but Mataji, the person would say that, look, all I'm doing is I'm sitting there answering phone calls and working to make money, working so that shareholders can make money somewhere.
No. You are working to serve your master. Because the shareholders are not your concern. You're not making more money. It's the owner, it's the company that makes more money and is concerned about the shareholders. You're a Shudra. You're just following orders and getting a salary. If the salary, includes some bonuses when your work has been particularly good, but that's still a salary.
No, but my point here is that a lot of people find no meaning in their current jobs and in their current duties because they see this as working for someone else.
No. In the course of your duties, even as a Shudra, you can still keep in mind, the mission of the avatar, the mission of God, paritranaya sadhanam vinashacha dushkritam dharma samstapanartaya. You answer the phone and you're nice to nice people. You protect the nice people. You give the proper information to the nice people, to the good people. If you see some bad action, someone who's cheating and stealing and committing a crime, then you do your best to stop that person. With intelligence, of course, and according to your position. But if you are sincere and you're not stupid, you'll find a way. Even if you're just answering the phone, if you're just in a call center, you can do the same thing. And
so Mataji, this is absolutely important. So my point here is that a lot of people say, oh, my life, I can't transcendentalize my life because I just sit in a call center.
They don't know what transcendental means.
Yes, I'd love to hear this, Mataji.
Yeah, basically, they don't know what transcendental means. Whatever you do, like Krishna says in Gita, Yad karoshi, yad asnasi, yad juhosi dadasi yad. Whatever you do, you answer the phone in a call center, you cook a meal, you go shopping, you clean the floor, whatever you do it as a service to the Supreme, to the universal community. And what is the mission of the universal, of God? Paritranaya sadhanam, protecting the good people, destroying the evil doers, those who do bad things, not the miscreants. The translation, I protect the devotees, destroy the miscreants. No, that's an Abrahamic translation. And it's toxic. Because a sadhu is not a sectarian devotee, a member of a cult. A sadhu is a good person. And you have to protect the good persons, because that is the mission of God, and you are serving the mission of God. So whatever you do, whatever you eat, why it is so important to be vegetarian? Being vegetarian is worship to God in itself. Because you see God in the cows, in the dogs, in the chickens, in whatever, in the fish. Why? Your respect, you see the Atman, and you are not going to create unnecessary suffering to others because they are all parts of God. Of course, we have to support our own body. So there is only so much that we can do. If you are in jail, and you don't have the vegan option for the menu, Baba, you have to eat what they give you. Because that is an emergency situation. It's called apad dharma. Apad dharma means emergency dharma. And you can still offer your food to God, because God says, Yad Ashnasi, whatever you eat, doesn't mean only, eat this and that. No, it doesn't say that. It says that he prefers patram pushpam palantoyam. He prefers that. But, that doesn't mean that you only have to eat a leaf, a fruit or a flower, You can eat rice, you can eat roti, you can eat milk. Now Krishna doesn't say, patram, pushpam, annam, dugdam and whatever. No, he prefers these things. Why? Because they're the least violent. Least obtrusive, but we can eat whatever we need to eat. We can eat, and we can eat for God. Tell.
So with this in mind, the message that you're giving here is that you can transcendentalize every activity.
Exactly.
The office worker working for a big corporation, answering telephones. Can still transcendentalize his or her life and work, just because in their ordinary job. That is what you're saying. This is not exclusive to activities such as book distribution and all these other things.
Of course,
this can happen. This can happen in everyday life.
Oh, but that was also, Bhaktivedanta Swami also said that. Devotional service is anything you do. It's not that washing the pots is less a devotional service than distributing books. It's the consciousness. It's a transcendental consciousness, because you can distribute books with a big ego, a big ahankara, a big mamatva. And that's not devotional service.
And again, you're bringing that down to the level of consciousness.
It's all about consciousness. What is devotion if not consciousness? Devotion means consciousness.
This has been an incredibly wonderful discussion, because I think...
Good. I'm happy.
You've summarized a number of points where you've talked about the Atman, and you've talked about a complete inversion of our thought processes, and then you've talked about how the ordinary is not so ordinary if performed with a degree. It's the consciousness of the individual that is the key determinant of whether an action is transcendental or material, as opposed to the action, the end point of the action itself, effectively, isn't it, basically? And my understanding now is that the essence of Atman realization is one of consciousness, and this is the key, really, isn't it?
And when you are in the proper consciousness, any activity, automatically, is consciousness put into practice. Now, with this understanding, try to read again the Bhagavad Gita and see, the picture is so much clearer. You know,
Yes, very much so.
it becomes so much easier to make the connections, to actually understand what Krishna is talking about. Okay.
Very much so, Mataji. And I'd just like to thank you for this wonderful session.
Thanks to you, because you're giving me the opportunity to bring this conversation to more people. You know, so
thank you.
This is actual devotional service, because how do we protect the good people and destroy the evildoers and establish the principles of Dharma and Vidya? By, telling people stuff, the right stuff.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thanks.
I really, really appreciate the discussion today.
Jai. Okay.
Jai Shriman
Jai Shriman Narayan. To the next time.
Jai.